Reproductions Awareness Concert Series. What we're doing is bringing a set of music to you guys here at Vox Pop, about an hour of music, and then we have different guests every month come up and give presentations. We have little panel discussions, Q&A sessions. Tonight, we're very lucky to have Chris Neidl from solar1.org, a fantastic nonprofit advocating on behalf of alternative energy and solar power specifically. So we're going to get a great presentation from him. So stick around. We're here till about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And the idea is bringing music and activism together. Live jazz for social change. Chris Neidl is an advocacy coordinator for solar1.org. Solar One is a green energy arts and education center on the FDR on the east side of Manhattan. And he's got a great presentation here, so take it away, Chris.
Great. Thank you, Vince. And a round of applause for Vince and Consilience and Vox Pop. It's a pleasure to be here. What I figured I would do is, as Vince said, I'm the advocacy coordinator of Solar One. Solar One does a lot of things at this point in its bio, but the part that I focus on is really trying to push for policies here at the city and state level to make solar and also other renewable sources more viable. And so what I wanted to do, since the real focus of Consilience is bonding together music and activism, I really wanted to sort of focus on our specific activist objectives. My piece of the work really focuses on increasing the amount of electricity that we produce and consume here in New York State and also New York City that comes from the sun or solar sources. And solar encompasses actually a broad variety of different technologies, but the one that we really focus on the most, though not exclusively, is the technology that you can see here, these panels, which are called photovoltaics. And here in the context of New York, why we like solar is because of all the renewable sources, it can actually be integrated into a dense urban environment. It sits up on rooftops. So it actually has an enormous amount of potential. What can the state of New York, how can we sort of step up and take a leadership role? And if we were to do that, how would we do it? You can't just wave a wand. What is the actual, the mechanism that we need to put in place to become a renewable energy leader? We've actually played a really, really exceptional role in the history of modern energy. And I think if we look at it in those terms, what have we done before? How has New York really pushed the envelope before that not only changed life in New York, but really changed life all over the world? The incandescent light bulb have its launch in Lower Manhattan, but the first power plants actually to power them were in downtown Manhattan as well on Pearl Street, and therefore the first electricity grid. So the basis of the modern electricity system really owes its origins to New York City. But not just New York City, it's also the first use of large-scale hydroelectricity and the first use of large-scale alternating current electricity also got its start on the other end of the state. The Manhattan Project wasn't called the Manhattan Project for no reason. It was actually a project that was hatched in a building on Broadway, a stone's throw from City Hall. And also, civilian nuclear power actually started also in New York State at Indian Point. But the example that I think in some ways shows what New York has done in the past, but also maybe what we can do in the future, is the example of the Erie Canal. It's an example where New Yorkers literally reached into the future and decided to build something that had no precedent whatsoever in terms of engineering and design, and by doing so had actually really established us as the Empire State, really confirmed and cemented our position as an economic power and innovator. Can New York really think of itself as a potential leader? And if it was, whether we're talking about solar or wind or other viable, already developed renewable energy sources, what would we have to do to actually step inside of that, into that role, to play that part? We work at the state level, so we want to see a law passed in Albany. The legislative session just began literally last week, and it goes till June. So between now and June, we're going to try to push forward legislation that's going to create a very, very strong policy that creates incentives for renewable energy. That's been applied in many other places around the world. It's starting to pop up in the United States, and it's been demonstrated to be the most effective policy at ramping up not only adoption of renewable energy, but also creating local renewable energy industry. And that's called, it's called a feed-in tariff. It's kind of a weird, uncharming sounding name, but that is the name of the policy. So what we're pushing for is what we're calling an Empire State feed-in tariff. Now, under a feed-in tariff, other types of producers are able to actually contribute electricity to the grid and get paid for it. So renewable energy sources, wind, solar, biomass digesters, are able to sell electricity to the grid, but not only are they able to sell electricity to the grid, the utility actually has to buy electricity from them in long-term contracts that last 20 years. So it creates a scenario where somebody who wants to invest in clean electricity knows that they're going to be able to participate and get paid over a long period of time. And there's already been legislation that was introduced last year and was just reintroduced this week. So we're actually going for particular bills. In order for this to actually work or take hold in New York, it really requires constituents, New Yorkers, to actually push their legislators, educate them on the issue, and let them know that they want